A man on the brink of death, a nation in imminent disintegration, a message that would redefine the course of humanity. Consider witnessing the moment when God chooses to unveil the supreme enigma of history and elects an ordinary man to document everything. Have you ever reflected on why, among the 66 books of the Bible, Isaiah is held to be the most astounding? Why did he earn the epithet of the evangelist of the Old Testament? What gives his words such a potent resonance that even Jesus referenced him more than any other book? Today, you will learn something that will permanently transform the way you read the scriptures. Prepare yourself, for what you are about to hear is not merely history, it is a divine code hidden for our era. A book that announced the virgin birth 700 years before, that detailed the crucifixion with chilling particulars centuries before the existence of the Roman cross, and that drew the most faithful portrait of the Messiah when no one else could even imagine him. This content is offered free of charge, but the impact it can generate in your life is immeasurable. If this message is touching your heart, reciprocate with a simple gesture. Subscribe to the channel and activate notifications. This helps us to continue disseminating the word daily. And what if I told you that Isaiah not only spoke of the past and the present, but transmitted direct messages for our generation with specific warnings and promises for the days we are living now? Do you know why scholars call Isaiah the fifth gospel? Because he has 66 chapters, just as the Bible has 66 books. The first 39 chapters address judgment like the 39 books of the Old Testament, and the last 27 discuss hope like the 27 books of the New Testament. Mere coincidence? Impossible. What you are about to discover will leave you breathless, for Isaiah contains prophecies so detailed, so impossible to foresee, that skeptics have tried for centuries to find explanations and have failed repeatedly. Prepare yourself for a journey that will strengthen your faith, for at the end of this narrative, you will never see the Bible the same way. In that year, Jerusalem was immersed in shadows. The passing of King Uzziah had unleashed a profound wave of fear and uncertainty throughout the kingdom of Judah. In the streets, panic spread like water, silent, yet clear in the eyes of every individual. The monarch had ruled for 52 long years, providing prosperity and security, but now his death seemed to foreshadow a dark period. Isaiah, a young priest of noble lineage, observed everything with growing apprehension. He had grown up hearing the stories of divine magnificence, witnessing the temple rituals since childhood. But now, it seemed that Jerusalem had strayed. Corruption and idolatry were beginning to infiltrate the very holy city. Nobles and priests, who should be examples of justice and righteousness, sought only their own interests. Isaiah felt profoundly disturbed. Sitting in a small chamber adjacent to the temple, Isaiah meditated intensely. The wind blew strong, striking the windows insistently, almost like a premonition. He sensed that something was about to change drastically, although he did not know exactly what. His heart was agitated, gripped by a sensation that mingled apprehension and expectation. Suddenly, the door burst open abruptly, breaking the stillness. "Brother Isaiah, Brother Isaiah," cried out Jeremiah, his close friend. "Have you heard the news? The borders are under threat. The Assyrians are advancing against us. They say that with Uzziah dead, we are easy targets." Isaiah took a deep breath before replying, "And our people, Jeremiah, how are they reacting?" Jeremiah lowered his head, dejected, desperate, lost. Some are considering seeking alliances with peoples who worship other gods. Isaiah's expression became even graver. "Jeremiah, our salvation does not reside in human pacts. We need to return to the God of our ancestors." Jeremiah stared deeply into Isaiah's eyes. "But who will listen to you in times like these? Who will pay attention to your words?" Isaiah remained silent for a moment, contemplating the horizon where dark clouds were beginning to gather. "Perhaps no one will hear me now, But someone needs to speak. Someone needs to remind our people who the true sovereign is. Jeremiah nodded, touched by the firmness of his friend's words. Later, walking towards the temple, Isaiah saw men debating anxiously in the streets, women mourning for the children who might be recruited for the war. An old priest approached him with a disheartened expression. "Young Isaiah, do you truly believe God still listens to us? Look around you. God has forsaken us." Isaiah responded serenely, but with conviction. God would never forsake us. It is we who have distanced ourselves from him. The elder shook his head, incredulous, slowly moving away. Upon entering the temple, the silence seemed dense, almost tangible. Isaiah approached the altar, knelt slowly and began to pray. "God of our fathers, we are lost. Our nation deviates from your law. Our hope is waning. Where shall we turn our gaze but to you?" As he prayed, Isaiah felt a strong gust of wind sweep through the temple, lightly shaking the sacred veil. An indescribable presence began to fill the space, intense and overwhelming. A resplendent light appeared from behind the veil, piercing his inner being with a brilliance impossible to bear. Isaiah's eyes flooded with tears. His body trembled uncontrollably. "Lord," he exclaimed with a trembling voice, "what am I witnessing?" A voice resonated deep and majestic. "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." Isaiah prostrated himself on the ground, unable to resist the force of that vision. Feeling completely impure and unworthy, he exclaimed in despair, "Woe is me! I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips, for my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts." A celestial being flew quickly to the altar, taking a live coal with tongs. Isaiah felt his heart race. The being approached calmly and with mercy, extending the coal towards the young priest's lips. "Do not fear, Isaiah," said the celestial being with a gentle but firm voice. "This coal has touched your lips. Your iniquity is taken away, and your sin is purged." The pain that Isaiah felt was deep, burning, but liberating. Then the divine voice echoed again through the temple. "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Isaiah slowly raised his head. Even aware of the difficulties he would face, he felt compelled to respond. With determination, he raised his voice. "Here am I. Send me." However, he could hardly conceive that what he had witnessed in that temple would mark him for the rest of his existence. Isaiah remained prostrated on the cold floor of the temple, his heart racing, his mind in complete chaos. His lips still burned with the touch of the celestial coal. But now, a new reality was unfolding before his eyes, far beyond any human comprehension. Everything around seemed to vibrate. The floor, the walls, even the air pulsed with an indescribable force. A brilliance so intense arose before him that Isaiah had to cover his eyes with his hands, unable to bear the dazzling light. Through the cracks in his trembling fingers, he began to perceive extraordinary details. Before him stood a majestic throne, high and exalted, from which radiated a pure and penetrating light. Seated upon the throne was the Lord, an imposing figure whose face was impossible to gaze upon directly, so great was his glory. Around the throne, celestial beings with 6 wings flew incessantly. Isaiah watched, fascinated and terrified, as 2 pairs of wings covered their faces and feet, and the other pair sustained them in the air. A deep and powerful melody echoed through the temple, repeating continuously, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory." The voice of these beings resonated deeply within the prophet's inner being, making every fiber of his body tremble. The entire temple seemed shaken by the intensity of that divine proclamation, while smoke began to fill the environment, obscuring his partial vision. Isaiah, dominated by fear, began to murmur to himself, "How can I be here? This is too much for any man to bear." With each repetition of the celestial chant, his heart seemed to sink further into the painful perception of his own impurity. It was not just fear, it was an overwhelming sensation of shame before divine perfection. He bowed his head, feeling a tear slowly stream down his face, wetting the temple floor. "I am lost," he murmured, trembling under the weight of that terrible revelation. "I am not worthy of this. I do not deserve to see such glory. I am a man of unclean lips, living among a people equally unclean." Isaiah pressed his hands against his chest, trying to relieve the suffocating weight that seemed to crush him. His breathing became more difficult as his body weakened under the magnitude of that vision. "Why did you bring me here, Lord?" he groaned, feeling unable to endure such holiness. As he remained kneeling, the voice that echoed repeatedly seemed to intensify even more. The young priest then realized that the very foundations of the temple were shaking under the force of that celestial proclamation. Isaiah began to sob deeply, perceiving the gravity of his own condition before the perfect holiness that surrounded him. "There is no salvation for me here," he whispered, desperate. "I am before the living God. No mortal survives before his presence." Suddenly, a shadow covered Isaiah, interrupting his desperate thoughts. He slowly raised his head, noticing one of the seraphim quickly approaching. His heart raced, and fear took hold of him, convinced that this moment would be his end. The celestial being carried something in its hands. Isaiah tried to identify it, and his heart almost stopped when he realized what it was: a live coal taken directly from the celestial altar. The burning brilliance of that coal seemed to illuminate the entire temple, casting dancing shadows on the smoke-covered walls. The celestial being slowly approached, its penetrating eyes fixed on the prophet, who was trembling uncontrollably. "No, Lord, I cannot bear it," Isaiah implored, trying to back away unsuccessfully. The celestial being gently alighted before him, holding the shining coal firmly. Its eyes conveyed calm and security. "Isaiah," said the celestial being with a deep and comforting voice, "this coal will touch your lips to purify you. Do not be afraid." Before he could react, Isaiah felt the searing heat of the charcoal in contact with his lips. The intense pain mingled with an inexplicable sensation of relief and purification. He cried out, more from surprise than from physical pain. The celestial being smiled gently as it removed the coal from the prophet's lips. "Your iniquity is taken away and your sin is purged." Isaiah, still stunned by the intensity of the moment, slowly raised his eyes to the glorious throne before him. He felt incredibly light, as if a crushing burden had been removed from his heart. Then, a powerful and deep voice resonated again, this time with an impossible clarity to ignore. "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" The divine voice seemed to penetrate even Isaiah's bones, bringing him a supernatural conviction. Without thinking about the future consequences, Isaiah responded immediately, with a firm and determined voice, "Here am I, send me." But even as he pronounced those words, Isaiah felt a chill run down his spine. Something within him clearly said that his life would never be the same. He had no idea of the pains, rejections, and trials he would still face. The intense light began to slowly diminish, and Isaiah realized that the vision was coming to an end. But before he could breathe a sigh of relief, a feeling of profound anguish assailed him. Something still remained hidden, something he would need to endure for a long time. Just when he thought his experience had ended, a new and terrifying image began to slowly form before his eyes. When Isaiah thought he would perish, something totally unexpected occurred. The burning still persisted on Isaiah's lips. Even after the celestial being had moved away with the glowing coal, the sensation of fire remained there, intensely pulsing. It was a pain mingled with a strange feeling of relief, as if something impure was being removed from within him with every passing moment. Isaiah remained kneeling, his eyes closed, breathing with difficulty. His body trembled. His hands, resting on the cold temple floor, could barely sustain his weight. It was as if he were on the border between life and death, between the human and the divine. A gentle yet firm voice broke the silence. "Arise, Isaiah." He opened his eyes with effort. Before him, still hovering in the air, was the seraph who had touched his lips. The brightness around had diminished, but the glory of the place remained manifest. "Your guilt is removed," the celestial being reiterated. "Your sin is forgiven." Isaiah, with a choked voice, inquired, "Why? For I am nothing but a frail man, a sinner." The seraph merely smiled, as if the answer were too obvious to be verbalized. Then, the surrounding environment began to vibrate again. A voice more potent, more majestic than any other ever heard by Isaiah, echoed through the temple walls. "Whom shall I send, and who will go for us?" Isaiah felt his heart pause for an instant. The interrogation seemed to hang in the air, awaiting a reply, as if the cosmos itself were waiting for the decision of a simple mortal. He scrutinized all around, as if searching for someone fit to take on such an assignment. But the temple was deserted, except for the celestial beings and the overwhelming presence of God. I am here." His voice came out weak initially, but soon gained strength, as if a new spirit was sprouting within him. "Here am I. Send me." The words were uttered even before he could ponder the implications. An impulse, an inner certainty, an answer that did not come from reason, but from the soul. For a brief moment, there was silence. Not even the seraphim were chanting their songs. Only the sound of Isaiah's gasping breath filled the space. Suddenly, the light intensified around the throne. It was as if heaven itself were reacting to his response. The celestial being in front of him approached once more, staring into his eyes with an expression that mingled compassion and solemnity. "Then, listen carefully, Isaiah," he said. "The path you have chosen will not be easy. Your words will be like hammers breaking rocks, but they will find hearts of stone. You will speak to the people, but they will stop their ears. You will prophesy, but they will not believe." Isaiah frowned, confused. "Lord, how long will this last? How long will they not give heed?" The answer came like thunder rumbling on the temple walls. "Until the cities are laid waste, and without inhabitant, the houses are without a man, and the land is utterly desolate. And the Lord has removed men far away, and the forsaken places are many in the midst of the land." Isaiah's blood ran cold. His hands began to tremble again. He felt that the mission was much greater, much heavier than he could ever conceive. The celestial being then made a gesture toward him. "But Isaiah, even amidst the devastation, there will be a remnant, a stump, a holy seed will remain." Isaiah breathed deeply, trying to assimilate all that. He felt small, powerless, but at the same time, a new fire began to burn in his chest. A fire that no rejection, no pain, and no future suffering could extinguish. Still kneeling, he closed his eyes for an instant, preparing himself spiritually for what was to come. Upon opening his eyes again, the temple seemed to have returned to normality. There was no more smoke, no visible seraphim, no intense light, but Isaiah knew his life would never be the same. He got up with difficulty, contemplating the altar with a mixture of fear and reverence. Upon leaving the temple, the first rays of sun pierced the clouds, as if heaven were telling him, "It is only just beginning." Isaiah took a few steps outside and, looking at the city, saw the people following their routines, completely oblivious to the supernatural experience he had just lived through. Jeremiah, his friend, saw him from afar and ran to him. "Isaiah, where were you? You look different." Isaiah, with his eyes still shining with emotion, just smiled, took a deep breath and replied, "Jeremiah, I believe God entrusted me with a mission." Jeremiah stared at him, startled. "What mission?" Isaiah looked at the horizon with a serious expression. A mission that will cause more pain than I can imagine. Isaiah answered without hesitation, unaware that his mission would be so painful. Before proceeding, we request your collaboration. Subscribe to the channel and leave your like to help us continue bringing profound Bible stories like Isaiah's to increasingly thirsty hearts. Now, we continue with the journey of this prophet who glimpsed the future with the eyes of faith. Isaiah walked slowly through the streets of Jerusalem, feeling the weight of the newly received assignment. Every step seemed to carry the echo of the divine voice that still resonated in his mind. Go and tell this people. But what God had said next left the young prophet with a heavy heart. Jeremiah, Isaiah said, calling his friend as he approached a small square where some men were debating politics and war. I need to tell you something. Jeremiah quickly turned around. You are still strange, Isaiah. Since that morning in the temple, your look is different. What happened? Isaiah took a deep breath as if seeking courage in the depths of his soul. God called me, but he hesitated for an instant. He also revealed to me that the people will not listen to me. What do you mean? Jeremiah asked, frowning. God said that they will have ears, but will not hear. They will have eyes but will not see. Their heart will become insensitive. Jeremiah was silent for a few seconds, trying to process what he had just heard. So you are stating that God will send you to preach, already knowing that no one will pay attention to you? Exactly, Isaiah replied with a sorrowful look. My task is to announce Jeremiah, even if no one wants to listen. His friend ran a hand through his hair, confused. That makes no sense, Isaiah. Why would God do that? Isaiah sighed deeply, because even amidst rejection, there is a greater purpose. A remnant will be saved. A seed will remain. The two walked in silence to the entrance of the market. There, Isaiah spotted a group of religious leaders, the same ones he had seen many times in the temple. Approaching cautiously, Isaiah raised his voice. O people of Jerusalem, thus says the Lord, hear indeed, but do not understand. See indeed, but do not perceive. Some men stopped to listen. Others just shook their heads, laughing with scorn. Just another prophet with words of misfortune, muttered one of them. We don't need prophets, we need soldiers, shouted another. Isaiah, with a fixed gaze full of determination, continued, Make the heart of this people dull, Lord. Make their ears heavy and shut their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their ears and understand with their heart and convert and be healed, until the cities are laid waste and without inhabitant, until the fields are utterly desolate. Silence took over the square for a few seconds, but soon the laughter and insults resumed. Go away, Isaiah, shouted an elderly man. We don't need your threats. Jeremiah approached his friend, grabbing his arm. Come, Isaiah, they are not ready to listen. As they walked away, Isaiah suddenly stopped and looked back. Something inside him said that that initial rejection was only the foreshadowing of a long and painful path. That night, back in his small house, Isaiah knelt and prayed, Lord, how long? How long will I preach and not be heard? How long will I see my people moving further and further away from you? The answer came as a deep whisper in his mind. Until the land is utterly desolate, until chaos covers the cities, until only a burnt stump remains, but from that stump life will arise again. Isaiah slowly opened his eyes, feeling a mixture of fear and hope. Days later, the news began to arrive. Enemy troops advancing, famine, injustice increasing in the streets. The words Isaiah had prophesied were beginning to come true before his own eyes, and even so, the people remained indifferent. One morning, while crossing the market, Isaiah heard a group of women crying. Another village has been destroyed, lamented one of them. Isaiah clenched his fists. They need to hear, they need to understand, he murmured to himself. Jeremiah appeared from a corner. Isaiah, are you going to continue? Until the last breath. he replied determinedly. Isaiah knew that his journey would be marked by pain, rejection, and loneliness, but something inside him said that God's purpose was greater than he could comprehend at that moment. But the greatest revelations were yet to come. The days in Jerusalem became more oppressive. Every morning brought more reports: lost battles, failed political alliances, famine in neighboring villages. Isaiah walked the streets, observing the downcast countenance of his people. He knew that his assignment was to announce, even without being heard, but this did not lessen the burden in his heart. On an overcast afternoon, Isaiah was summoned to the royal palace. King Ahaz, now on the throne, showed himself to be insecure, hesitant, and dominated by fear. The threat of invasion by the kingdoms of Israel and Syria left the monarch in a panic. Upon arriving at the throne room, Isaiah perceived the tense atmosphere. Armed guards, murmuring counselors, faces pale with worry. "Isaiah!" the king called out with a tone of despair. "What does your God say about all this? We are surrounded by enemies. My heart is seized by fear." Isaiah took a deep breath, closed his eyes for a brief moment, seeking strength. Then he approached the king. "Hear now, O house of David. Do not fear these two stubs of smoking firebrands who are the kings of Syria and Israel," he began with a firm voice. King Ahaz stared at him anxious. "But how can I not fear? They are already at the gates." Isaiah remained unwavering. "The Lord himself will give you a sign, something that will prove that he is still in control." He paused briefly and looked directly into the king's eyes. "Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel." A heavy silence fell over the room. "What?" asked Ahaz, visibly confused. "A virgin conceive? That is impossible." The counselors around began to murmur, exchanging suspicious glances. "That makes no sense at all," whispered one of them. "Isaiah, you are speaking in riddles," said another with a tone of irritation. Jeremiah, who had accompanied Isaiah to the palace, approached and whispered, "Isaiah, are you sure of what you heard?" Isaiah nodded with absolute firmness. While the men in the room questioned, laughed, and mocked the prophecy, Isaiah remained motionless. His gaze was fixed on a point beyond human comprehension. "Emmanuel," he repeated in a low voice, almost like a prayer. Upon leaving the palace, Jeremiah walked alongside Isaiah, still stunned. "A virgin? How? How can that happen?" Isaiah stopped walking and turned to his friend. "I do not know, Jeremiah. I do not understand how, but I know it was what God revealed. And I know that one day this child will be born." "But what about the people?" Jeremiah insisted. "They barely believe the words you have already spoken. How can you expect them to accept something like that?" Isaiah looked at the sky covered by gray clouds. "Not even I comprehend everything, my friend. But I know that I must speak." In the following days, the news of the prophecy spread rapidly. Wherever he went, Isaiah heard comments. "A son of a virgin, what madness," some said. "Now the prophet is delirious," others mocked. There was laughter, sarcasm, even direct insults. One morning, while walking to the temple, Isaiah was approached by a group of youths. "Hey, prophet," shouted one of them, "when is your so-called Emmanuel coming? We already know you are good with metaphors, aren't you?" Isaiah stopped, staring at them with serenity. "Laugh today, mock now, but the words of the Lord do not fail." The group guffawed as they moved away. Back in his house, Isaiah knelt again, as so many times before. "Lord, why do you show me things that my mind cannot understand? Why do you make me announce such a mysterious sign?" The silence of the night was the only answer. Then, while he was there, with his eyes closed and his heart heavy, Isaiah had another brief vision. A woman enveloped in light, with her womb growing, and a boy in her arms. "Emmanuel," he whispered as he awoke, his face bathed in tears. The image disappeared as quickly as it arose. Isaiah remained motionless, breathing with difficulty. "This defies all human logic," he said in a low voice, while tears streamed down his face. Isaiah realized that what he saw defied all human logic. The tension in Jerusalem grew like a storm about to break. The enemies surrounded the borders, and fear had seized everyone. Even so, Isaiah arose every dawn with the same conviction, to transmit the message of hope that God had entrusted to him. On a chilly morning, Isaiah positioned himself in the central square of the city. There, merchants arranged their stalls, and citizens circulated, commenting on the new military threats. Isaiah raised his voice firmly. "Hear, O people of Judah, do not let fear consume you. The Lord himself will give you a sign. The virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and he shall be called Emmanuel, God with us." Some people stopped to listen. Others just continued their way, shaking their heads in disapproval. From the middle of the crowd, a man shouted with a tone of scorn, "Ah, the dreaming prophet has returned with his messages of misfortune and impossible promises." Another man with a bitter countenance retorted, "Emmanuel, what God is this that allows such pain upon us?" Isaiah, unmoved, continued, "Even amidst despair there is hope. This son will be a sign that God has not abandoned us. Even if it seems like silence, even if everything around screams defeat, God is with us." Jeremiah, always near, approached and whispered, "Isaiah, do you realize that the more you speak, the more hatred you arouse? They look at you with contempt." Isaiah closed his eyes for a brief moment. "I know, Jeremiah. But if God commanded me to speak, I will speak. Even if no one believes, his word does not return void." That night, Isaiah gathered his family. With his wife and children around, he spoke with a voice choked with emotion. "My children, I know that many laugh at me, say I am mad, but I want you to know, I believe every word the Lord gave me. One day this child, this Emmanuel, will be born, and he will change everything." His wife, always discreet, softly touched his hand. "I believe in you, my beloved." Isaiah smiled, his eyes welling up. Days later, a group of religious leaders sought out Isaiah in the temple. Their countenances were serious, almost hostile. "Isaiah," said the eldest among them, "we cannot allow you to continue spreading false hopes among the people. We are already suffering too much." "My words are not mine," Isaiah replied firmly. "They are from the Lord of hosts. If he commanded me to announce hope, that is what I will do." The man snorted with anger. "Then may your God protect you, because the people are tired of hearing empty promises." As the leaders walked away, Isaiah remained there, alone in the temple, staring at the altar with a heavy heart. That night, Isaiah had a brief dream. He saw a small boy running among olive trees with a serene smile and a peace that seemed to envelop everything. "Emmanuel," he whispered upon waking, his face bathed in tears. But even in that image of hope, Isaiah felt there was something greater, something that still remained hidden from his comprehension. The sign of the Virgin was only the beginning, but this was only a sign. The greatest mystery was still concealed. The days succeeded one another, and Jerusalem remained plunged into uncertainty. Military threats intensified, and hunger began to plague the more modest homes. The people wandered through the streets with bowed heads, their eyes dull, carrying on their shoulders the burden of hopelessness. Isaiah, however, remained firm. Every morning, even before the sun rose, he climbed one of the nearby mountains to pray. "Lord," he murmured, with his eyes turned to the still dark sky, "your people are exhausted. We are on the brink of collapse. We need a word, a sign, a light." That morning, while he was still kneeling, something extraordinary happened. Isaiah felt his body tremble, A new vision took over his thoughts. It was as if the heavens opened before him. He saw a child, but it was not an ordinary child. There was a special glow around him, as if the very glory of God rested on that small being. A celestial voice echoed, "For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government will be upon his shoulder, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." Isaiah opened his eyes, startled. His heart was racing. "A Prince of Peace?" he whispered, still trying to understand the meaning of that. Without losing time, Isaiah came down from the mountain and ran through the streets of Jerusalem. He found a small group gathered at the entrance of the market and without hesitation began to announce, "Hear, O people of Judah, the hope. The Lord has revealed to me that a child will be born. He will bring government, justice, and eternal peace. His name will be Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace." The people stopped, some with curiosity, others with disdain. A middle-aged man in merchant's clothes crossed his arms and shouted, "Another child, Isaiah! Isn't this Emmanuel's story enough? Now you come with another prophecy?" A woman with a small child in her arms asked with a hesitant voice, "When, Isaiah? When will this child be born? We are already tired of waiting." Isaiah took a deep breath. "I do not know when, but I know that God fulfills what he promises." Jeremiah, always by his side, pulled him to a corner. "Isaiah, do you realize what you are doing? Every new word of yours seems to divide the people even more. Some are starting to believe, but many others are turning against you." "I know, Jeremiah, but the message is not mine." Isaiah clenched his fist firmly. "I cannot remain silent." That night, lying in his small bed, Isaiah could hardly sleep. The words of the vision echoed ceaselessly in his mind. "Prince of Peace, Mighty God, Everlasting Father." "Lord, how can a simple child bear such grand titles?" he questioned in prayer. "Who will this son be? How will we recognize him?" The following days were even more difficult. Every time Isaiah stood up to speak in public, the tension increased. Some religious leaders began to spread rumors that he was going mad, that his visions were the result of tiredness and despair. One afternoon, Isaiah was walking through the corridors of the temple when he was approached by a group of priests. "Isaiah," said the eldest among them with a tone of authority, "we want you to stop talking about these children. You are confusing the people." "Confusing?" Isaiah replied, his eyes full of determination. "I am bringing the truth." "Truth?" mocked another priest. "What kind of God announces salvation through a child? Where is the army? Where is the strength we need?" Isaiah took a deep breath. "It is not with armies, nor with human strength," he replied. "God's answer will come in a way you do not imagine." The priests walked away laughing, while Isaiah remained there, looking at the altar with a heavy heart. That same night, while praying in his house, Isaiah had another brief vision. He saw multitudes of peoples, not just Israelites, but people from various nations, languages, and cultures, all walking toward a great light on the horizon. "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light," he whispered, repeating the words that came to his mind. The next day he returned to the central square and proclaimed, "The people who walked in darkness will see a great light. Those who dwelt in the land of the shadow of death, upon them a light will shine from the Lord." But as before, many just ignored him. Others laughed. Some, more enraged, began to throw stones at him. Isaiah dodged and, protected by Jeremiah, managed to flee through the narrow alleys. Upon reaching the safety of his house, he fell to his knees. "Lord, how will all this happen? When? Where? Who will this child be? How will the people believe?" Silence seemed to answer once more. A mixture of hope and confusion took over the prophet's heart. Isaiah knew he was in the middle of something much bigger than he could comprehend, but the true meaning of all that was still hidden from his eyes. Isaiah still didn't fully understand how this would change everything. The brightness of hope that Isaiah carried after the vision of the Prince of Peace began to cloud under the burden of the new messages that God entrusted to him. The words that now came to his heart were severe, penetrating like a sharp blade. There were no more promises of immediate comfort. Now, what God wanted him to announce to the people was judgment. The next morning, Isaiah walked to the temple entrance, his face pale, his eyes sunken from so much weeping in the silent dawns. "Jeremiah," he called his friend with a trembling voice, "today the words the Lord gave me are excessively heavy." Jeremiah looked worriedly. "More judgment, Isaiah?" The prophet merely nodded, breathing deeply before raising his voice before all who were passing by the temple stairs. "O house of Israel, O Judah, thus says the Lord of hosts, woe to Assyria, the rod of my anger. With it I will punish the rebellious nations, and as for you, people of Jerusalem, your pride will be brought down. The arrogant will be humbled, and the land will be desolate." The people stopped for an instant. A strange silence hung in the air, but soon the murmurs came. "He has gone completely mad," said one of the elders. "Always that voice of condemnation. Where is the God of mercy that our fathers served?" inquired another with a mocking tone. Isaiah came down the steps, walking through the streets, while continuing to proclaim, "The cities will be devastated, the trees will be cut down, the vineyards destroyed, the pride of Judah will be crushed. Do you trust in human alliances? Do you trust in your armies? For know this, a day will come when the warriors will flee without looking back." Jeremiah walked beside him, downcast. "Isaiah, they won't listen. They don't want to listen." "I know," replied the prophet with a choked voice, "but I cannot be silent." That night, Isaiah could hardly sleep. In his prayers, kneeling on the cold floor, he cried out, "Lord, how long? How long must I proclaim judgment and destruction? How long will I see closed faces, stopped ears, and hardened hearts?" And in response, another vision formed before his tired eyes. He saw scorched lands, houses reduced to rubble, children crying in the streets, mourning mothers and priests with torn robes sitting in the dust. "It is the price of disobedience," he murmured, as tears streamed down. The next day, during a small meeting with a group of farmers, Isaiah tried to warn them, "Your field will be taken, the harvest destroyed, the enemies will come like a swarm of locusts. Hear the voice of the Lord while there is still time." One of the men stood up angrily. "Shut up, prophet. Our problems are political, not spiritual. We don't want to hear your threats anymore." Isaiah remained firm. "You can silence me, but you cannot silence the voice of God." Jeremiah once again pulled him away, fearing that Isaiah would be stoned right there. As they walked through the alleys, Isaiah suddenly stopped. His gaze was fixed on something that only he seemed to see. "Jeremiah, I love them. I love this people, but their heart is so hardened," Isaiah said with a faint voice. "How can I bear to see all this happen and not be able to prevent it?" "You have already done all you could," replied Jeremiah, placing a hand on his friend's shoulder. "We can only pray." Isaiah nodded, but the weight of the mission was almost unbearable. In the silence of the night, he isolated himself once more in the temple, kneeling near the altar. "Lord, my heart is broken. The words you give me are heavy as stones. How long? How long?" The wind blew strongly through the temple curtains. Isaiah felt a chill. God had shown him the consequences of disobedience, but the prophet felt that the coming suffering was not only the people's. He himself would still face pains that he could not even imagine. Isaiah questions whether he could bear more pain, without knowing that the greatest pain was yet to come. Weeks passed, and Isaiah's heart remained in constant conflict. The burden of the prophecies of judgment still consumed him, but amidst the pain, a new vision began to emerge in his dawns of prayer. It was a cold morning. The wind lashed the streets of Jerusalem when Isaiah climbed once more to the mountain where he usually sought answers. He knelt on the dry earth, his hands raised to the sky. Lord, how long will I see only destruction? How long will you show me only judgment? As he prayed, his eyes closed, and then a new scene began to form before him. It was not a vision of war, nor of ruin, but of a man of humble appearance, his face marked, his shoulders hunched like someone carrying an invisible burden. Isaiah narrowed his eyes, trying to understand better. "Who is this?" he whispered as the vision gained clarity. A gentle yet firm voice echoed in his mind. "Behold, my servant whom I uphold, my elect one, in whom my soul delights. I have put my spirit upon him. He will bring forth justice to the Gentiles." Isaiah opened his eyes, breathing rapidly. Sweat ran down his forehead despite the cold morning. "A servant," he murmured, rising with difficulty. "Who will this man be?" That same day, walking through the narrow streets of the city, Isaiah crossed paths with known people. Some looked at him with contempt, others with pity. He knew that his reputation among the people was increasingly bruised, but at that moment, none of that mattered. His mind was completely taken over by the figure of the servant. Upon meeting Jeremiah again, Isaiah decided to share. "Jeremiah, I had another vision." "Another one?" asked his friend with a worried look. "Yes, but this time it was different. It wasn't about war, nor about judgment. It was about a man, a servant." Jeremiah frowned. "A servant? Who?" "I don't know." Isaiah shook his head, clearly confused. But he was special. There was something divine and at the same time of extreme humility about him. And what was he doing? Isaiah took a deep breath. He brought justice, but without crying out, without raising his voice. In the streets, he would not break a bruised reed or quench a smoking wick. He carried the suffering as if it were his own. Jeremiah was silent for an instant, absorbing every word. "Isaiah, do you think this man is already among us?" "I don't know," the prophet replied, looking at the horizon. "But I feel that his mission will be greater than anything I have ever announced." In the following days, Isaiah began to record the words that came to his mind, almost like an outburst. "Listen, O coastlands, to me, and take heed, you peoples from afar. The Lord has called me from the womb. From the matrix of my mother, he has made mention of my name." He stopped, breathing deeply, feeling the weight of every word that came out of his pen. "From the womb," he whispered, "one chosen from before birth." One afternoon, while crossing the market, a young man approached with a tone of irony. "Hey, prophet, now you are talking about a mysterious servant? Who will be next, a king invisible, an army of angels?" The laughter echoed around. Isaiah remained silent, but inside the conflict grew. That night, lying in his bed, Isaiah could not sleep. The images of the vision haunted him. The face of that servant, the look of compassion, the expression of suffering and determination at the same time. He got up, walked to the small table where he kept his scrolls, and began to write once more. "I will also give you as a light to the Gentiles, that you should be my salvation to the ends of the earth." Isaiah stopped for a moment, observing the phrase, "light to the Gentiles." That was unimaginable. Salvation not only for Israel? He ran his hands over his face, trying to organize his thoughts. What does all this mean, Lord? Who is this servant? Why does he carry so much suffering? A chill ran down his spine. For the first time, Isaiah had the impression that the story being revealed to him went far beyond his comprehension. Isaiah was about to discover something that would change everything he believed. Little by little, Isaiah's words about the servant began to echo louder through the streets of Jerusalem. But instead of bringing comfort, they provoked confusion, irritation, and mainly rejection. On a cloudy morning, Isaiah positioned himself on one of the busiest corners of the city. His voice sounded firm, but laden with sadness. "Hear, O house of Israel, the Lord has revealed his servant, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him." Passers-by stopped for an instant. Some looked with disdain, others with indifference. "There he goes again," grumbled a merchant, "always talking about suffering. Who wants to hear about that? We want to hear about victory, about salvation, not about pain." Isaiah continued, ignoring the cutting glances around him. "The servant will give his back to those who strike him, and his cheeks to those who pluck out the beard. He will not hide his face from shame and spitting. He will be oppressed, but he will not open his mouth to defend himself." Suddenly a stone flew and hit the ground right next to his feet. "Enough, Isaiah!" shouted a man with hatred in his eyes. "I'm tired of your words of misfortune." Other voices joined in. "Shut up, prophet of sadness. Why would God choose a weak man to be his servant? We want a deliverer, a warrior." Isaiah felt his chest tighten. Even surrounded by the crowd, loneliness weighed as never before. When he retreated to his house that afternoon, he was surprised by something that hurt even more deeply. His own cousin, Eliab, with whom he had grown up and shared so many moments, was waiting for him at the door. "Isaiah," Eliab began, looking around to ensure there were no witnesses, "I came to plead with you, please. Stop." "Stop!" Isaiah replied with a choked voice. "People are saying you've gone mad. No one wants to do business with our family anymore. My daughters are being avoided by their friends, our relatives. They are ashamed of your name." Isaiah lowered his head. The blow was deep. "Eliab, I didn't choose this. God chose me. I cannot be silent." His cousin clenched his fists in evident frustration. "Then bear the consequences alone. Don't count on me anymore." Without waiting for a reply, Eliab turned and left. Jeremiah, who was watching from afar, approached. "Isaiah, even your family now?" "Even them," Isaiah replied, his eyes welling up. That night Isaiah isolated himself in the temple, fell to his knees before the altar and cried out, "Lord, how long? How long will I be a laughingstock? How long will I be rejected by those I love?" As he wept, a new vision began to take shape. This time, the servant was even clearer. Isaiah saw the man with the gentle look being pushed, assaulted, spat upon in the face. The servant remained silent, enduring every blow without reaction. Isaiah cried out in agony, "Why? Why so much suffering? Who is this man, Lord?" But the vision did not end there. Isaiah's gaze was drawn to a detail that until that moment had gone unnoticed. He saw blood, the servant's face covered in blood. But it was not just blood. It was blood streaming from open wounds on his back, as if he had been scourged, punished, publicly humiliated. Isaiah brought his hands to his face in despair. "My God, what is this? Who would commit such cruelty against an innocent person?" His heart raced. Tears fell uncontrollably. And there, on the temple floor, alone and rejected, the prophet understood that the pain he was carrying was only a small shadow of the pain that servant would suffer. Amidst the rejection, Isaiah sees a terrifying detail in the vision. Isaiah could not sleep. The images of the last vision haunted him night after night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the face of that man, the servant, a look so full of pain, rejection, and at the same time, a strange and inexplicable compassion. On a cold dawn, Isaiah climbed the mountain, the same one where he had prayed so many times. He knelt with his face to the ground and cried out in agony, "Lord, please, I can't take it anymore. Why do you make me see this?" And once again, as so many times before, the sky seemed to tear open before him. The vision came strong, relentless. Isaiah saw the servant now with more details than ever. The man walked slowly down a narrow alley, surrounded by people who looked at him with contempt. Some spat on the ground as he passed, others shook their heads in disapproval. An inner voice began to narrate within Isaiah's mind, as if God himself were dictating the words. He was despised and rejected by men, a man of sorrows and acquainted with grief. Isaiah felt his breath catch. He saw the servant being pushed, dragged, struck without mercy. His face was swollen, covered with bruises. His eyes, half closed from being beaten so much, still conveyed love. How can he look like that? Isaiah murmured, tears streaming uncontrollably. And the voice continued, and we hid, as it were, our faces from him. He was despised, and we did not esteem him. Isaiah fell to his knees, his whole body trembling. The pain he saw was so real, so intense, that it seemed to pass through his own inner being. Suddenly, the scene changed. Now, the servant was being scourged. Isaiah saw his back torn, cut, bleeding with every blow. "No!" shouted the prophet. "This is too much! I cannot bear it!" But the vision continued. The whips came down hard, the skin tore in strips, the blood flowed, mingling with the dust of the road. And even so, the servant did not complain, did not fight, did not resist. Why? Why does he accept this? Isaiah murmured between sobs. And then, as if God were answering him, the sacred voice continued, "Surely he has borne our griefs and carried our sorrows, yet we esteemed him stricken, smitten by God, and afflicted." Isaiah, stunned, shook his head, trying to push the image away from his mind, but it remained unwavering, cruel, real. The vision proceeded. Now, the servant was being led somewhere. Isaiah could not see exactly where, but he could hear the sound of screams, mockery, and the distant crying of some women. But he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities, the voice continued. Isaiah felt his body weaken, his legs gave way, and he fell completely to the ground. For our guilt, for our sins, he repeated in a low voice. The weight of the revelation suffocated him. Then the last scene of that vision struck him like a blow to the chest, the servant lying motionless, his body covered with wounds, his eyes closed, lifeless. Isaiah covered his face with his hands and screamed in despair, "Lord, I can't take any more. Don't show me any more. This is too much for me." The wind blew strongly over the mountain. The dry leaves swirled around the prostrate prophet. He remained thus, motionless, weeping. Jeremiah, who had been looking for him since morning, finally found him. "Isaiah, what happened? Are you all right?" Isaiah lifted his gaze, his eyes red, his voice faint, and a tone of despair. "No, Jeremiah, I am not. What I saw, what God showed me, I feel like I won't be able to bear it anymore." Jeremiah helped him up. But Isaiah knew. What he had just witnessed was only the prelude to an even greater suffering. He felt that he could not bear any more without knowing that this was only the beginning. Isaiah could barely lift himself off the ground after the vision of the wounded and humiliated servant. The images remained engraved in his mind with a terrifying clarity. The words he had heard echoed like silent thunder in his heart. Even walking back home, his legs felt like lead. Every step was dragged, as if the burden of all the pain he had witnessed was on his shoulders. Jeremiah accompanied him closely, watching with concern. "Isaiah," he said, touching his shoulder carefully, "since that vision, you barely speak, you barely sleep. What was it that you saw?" Isaiah stopped, took a deep breath, and in a low voice replied, "Something, Jeremiah, something I can't even explain. It's as if heaven itself is crying, as if the judgment I always announced is falling, not on the guilty, but on someone innocent." That night, Isaiah locked himself in his writing room, picked up the scroll, the inkwell, and began to record with trembling hands what his soul carried. The words flowed like a river, painful, inevitable. But he was wounded for our transgressions, he was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement for our peace was upon him, and by his stripes we are healed. Isaiah stopped. Tears streamed down without him noticing. The inkwell slipped from his hands, staining the scroll. He breathed deeply, trying to control his emotions. Wounded, he repeated to himself in a low voice. But how? He brought his hand to his chest, feeling his heart tighten. The images returned forcefully. The servant, now bound to something. Isaiah looked more closely. A piece of wood, arms outstretched, hands and feet pierced by something he had never seen before. What is this? He whispered, trying to understand. It was a form of execution that Isaiah was unfamiliar with. There were no records of such a method in his time. It was something cruel, slow, a prolonged suffering. The vision continued, the servant hanging, powerless, his body covered in blood, the people around mocking, laughing, pointing fingers. He was oppressed and he was afflicted, yet he opened not his mouth. He was led as a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he opened not his mouth. The words came as if God blew them directly into his heart. Isaiah dropped the pen and covered his face with his hands. Why, Lord? Why does this man endure all this without complaining? Why doesn't he defend himself? He asked in despair. He remembered the judgments he had already witnessed in Jerusalem, men screaming, struggling, fighting for their lives. But the servant, he remained silent. How can someone be condemned unjustly and still accept it? The questions hammered at the prophet's mind. In another quick vision, Isaiah saw the servant's body being removed from that wooden structure. A man was carefully wrapping him in a linen cloth, taking him to a new tomb carved in the rock. And they made his grave with the wicked, but with the rich at his death, Isaiah murmured, startled by the precision of the images. The tears returned, now more intense. It doesn't make sense, he cried out, abruptly standing up, knocking over scrolls and inkwells. Why an innocent person? Why does someone so pure have to go through this? Jeremiah, hearing the shouts, rushed into the room. Isaiah, what's happening? Isaiah, with his eyes red and his face stained with ink and tears, replied between sobs, I saw every detail. The suffering, the blows, the nails, the humiliation, the death. Jeremiah fell silent for a few moments, not knowing what to say. But why? He finally asked. Isaiah stared fixedly at his friend, his eyes filled with a mixture of pain and fear. Jeremiah, he replied in a low but firm voice, it wasn't for his mistakes, it was for ours. All the guilt, all the pain that was ours was placed upon him. His friend stepped back, trying to process those words. But, Isaiah, he stammered, that's too cruel. No one would do that for a people who reject him. Isaiah slowly nodded. No one, except someone sent directly by God, someone with a purpose that is still beyond our comprehension. Silence took over the room. The two remained there, standing, immersed in the weight of the revelation. Isaiah picked up the scroll again and continued to write, even with his hand trembling, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. He felt that, however much those words caused him pain, he needed to record them. They were words that would cross generations. However, as he plunged into the images of suffering, something new began to emerge at the end of the vision. Something that Isaiah still could not fully understand, but which left him even more distressed. He saw a light, something beyond death, a detail that should not exist, something that contradicted all the logic of what he had just witnessed. Isaiah stopped writing, took a deep breath, and, with a lost look, whispered to himself, "This is impossible." Isaiah realized that he was not just describing suffering, but something unimaginable. Isaiah remained static, his gaze fixed on the scroll, his hand still hesitant on the wooden table. The scenes of the servant's suffering, humiliation, and death were excessively vivid in his memory, as if he had been present at every moment, feeling every blow, every tear, every choked moan. But now, something new, something that defied all human reason, began to take shape in his mind. As he tried to conclude the last lines about the servant's passing, a sudden light burst into his vision. It was not a common light. It was intense, almost blinding. Isaiah instinctively closed his eyes, but even so, the scene that was unfolding before him was clear, very clear. He saw the same servant, now alive. "No! This cannot be," he whispered with a choked voice. Isaiah opened his eyes forcefully, as if he could dispel the vision. But upon closing them again, the scene persisted. The servant, the one he had just witnessed being assaulted, pierced, dead, was now standing, his face serene, his eyes full of life. The marks of suffering were still visible, but there was something more, something that Isaiah could not name, but which made him tremble. A gentle voice, like a divine whisper, echoed within him. "He shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied." Isaiah felt the floor sway beneath his feet. "Light? Satisfied? After so much suffering?" he murmured, covering his face with his hands, as if trying to contain the whirlwind of emotions. He abruptly got up from the table and began to wander around the room. "This is impossible," he repeated. "No one returns from the dead. No one!" The sound of the door opening interrupted his thoughts. Jeremiah rushed in, panting. "Isaiah, rumors are circulating that the people are gathering to demand that you keep silent. They say your words are unsettling everyone." Isaiah, with his gaze fixed on the floor, replied in a low voice, "Jeremiah, what I saw just now is something that even I cannot believe." "What?" Jeremiah approached. Isaiah took a deep breath, as if struggling to organize his thoughts. "I saw life after death. I saw the servant, the one who was crushed, pierced. I saw him standing alive, as if death itself had been conquered." Jeremiah stepped back, startled. "Isaiah, that is impossible." "I know," replied the prophet, tears falling slowly, "but I saw with these eyes." Isaiah walked to his table, picked up the scroll, and with still trembling hands began to write once more. "Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand." He paused for an instant, reflecting on every word he was recording. "He shall prolong his days," he repeated, trying to understand. Does that mean he will live even after being crushed? Jeremiah, still in shock, sat down beside him. "Isaiah, do you understand what you are saying? You are writing that a man, a real man, will die and then live again." Isaiah nodded slowly. "That is exactly it. And more," he looked at his friend with eyes full of fear. "He will not only live, but will see the reward of his suffering, will see the fruit of his sacrifice, as if death had no final power over him." Silence took over the room. Isaiah knew that revealing this to the people would bring even more mockery, more rejection, more pain. Who would believe in a resurrection? Who would accept such an absurd prophecy? He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and still kneeling, whispered in prayer, "Lord, I am close to something that my mind cannot grasp. I need understanding. I need your strength." At that moment, as the wind gently blew through the half-open window, Isaiah felt a new conviction being born in his heart. Something grand, something too revolutionary to understand alone, was being written through his hands. Isaiah knew he was close to something too revolutionary to understand alone. The days in Jerusalem continued oppressive. as if the very air carried the weight of Isaiah's prophecies. Every message he announced seemed to tear away a little more of the people's hope. Wars, famine, judgment, suffering. Everything was being fulfilled as he had predicted. Nevertheless, that morning, upon waking, Isaiah felt something different in his spirit. Sitting on the edge of his bed, he closed his eyes and prayed in silence. Lord, after everything I have seen, after everything I have heard, is there any hope left? And it was at that moment that a new vision took shape. Isaiah saw fields flourishing where before there was only arid land. He saw children playing in the streets without fear. He saw men and women rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem with joy in their eyes. Laughter and singing echoed through the city. A gentle voice, almost like a whisper, filled the environment. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good tidings to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and the opening of the prison to those who are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn. Isaiah opened his eyes suddenly, his heart racing. "Hope!" he whispered. Without wasting time, he hurried out of the house, walked through the streets, crossed the squares until he reached the temple. There, with a firm and emotional voice, he began to proclaim, "O Jerusalem, O people of Judah, hear! There is a time of restoration coming. It will not always be lamentation and ashes. There will be comfort for those who weep. There will be liberation for the oppressed." The people, accustomed to Isaiah's harsh messages, looked in astonishment. Some approached, curious. "Isaiah?" asked an elderly woman. "Are you saying that after everything, there is still hope?" Isaiah smiled, his eyes full of tears. "Yes," he replied with conviction. "After the darkest night, the sun rises again. God has not forgotten us." Jeremiah, always by his side, placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "This is the message you waited for so long, isn't it?" Isaiah nodded. "God showed me the judgment, showed me the suffering, but now he shows me the redemption, a new beginning, a new chance for all of us." The following days were different. Isaiah continued to be rejected by some, but he realized that, for the first time, there were attentive eyes, open hearts, people willing to hear about a better future. He began to record this new vision with special care. To console those who mourn in Zion, to give them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they may be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. As he wrote, tears streamed down his face, but this time they were not of pain, they were of hope. Jeremiah observed him from afar and commented to another friend, "I have never seen Isaiah so determined, so full of life." But even with all this new energy, something still bothered the prophet's heart. There was a detail, a piece of the puzzle that remained hidden. However much he spoke of restoration and hope, Isaiah felt that the final purpose, the deepest answer to all the visions, had not yet been fully revealed. That night, as the cold wind stirred the curtains of his house, Isaiah knelt again, alone. "Lord, you showed the pain, the judgment, the redemption, but I feel there is more, much more, something that ties all this together, something that will give meaning to every word I have written." He remained there for hours, waiting in silence. Tiredness overcame him, and Isaiah fell asleep right there on the floor. But in his dreams, a new light began to dawn on the horizon of his mind, something grand, frightening, and at the same time glorious. But the final revelation, the true answer to the question, why is the book of Isaiah the most impressive in the Bible, was yet to come. Isaiah awoke still kneeling, his face resting on the stone floor. Dawn slowly invaded his humble dwelling, projecting beams of golden light through the cracks in the window. His body ached, his knees were bruised, but there was a distinct peace and, simultaneously, a tension in the air that he had never felt before. He slowly got up, washed his face, took a deep breath, and with trembling hands picked up a new scroll. Something in his spirit compelled him. The words flowed with an overwhelming urgency. Isaiah closed his eyes. The visions began again, only this time, everything seemed to make sense. He saw the servant, saw the improbable birth of a virgin, saw the child grow up full of wisdom, bringing comfort to the afflicted, healing to the sick, freedom to the oppressed. He also saw the contempt, the betrayal, the suffering, the death, and then life emerging where there was only death. Isaiah opened his eyes, tears streaming down his face. "My God," he murmured with a choked voice, "everything converges to him. Everything I saw, all the words I announced, it's about one single man, one single savior." Jeremiah rushed into the room, calling him, "Isaiah, are you all right? You are pale." Isaiah looked at him with shining eyes, as if seeing beyond what human eyes could perceive. "Jeremiah, I understood. I finally understood." "Understood what?" Isaiah took a deep breath and replied with a mixture of emotion and fear. "All the visions, every word of judgment, every promise of redemption, every image of suffering and glory, everything points to the Messiah, the servant, the Emmanuel, the Prince of Peace. They are all him, one single man, one single plan, one Savior." Jeremiah fell silent, stunned. "But Isaiah, how can that be? You are talking about events that will happen centuries after us. How can you be so sure?" Isaiah picked up the scroll and with a firm voice recited, "He shall see the labor of his soul and be satisfied. By his knowledge my righteous servant shall justify many, for he shall bear their iniquities." The prophet dropped the pen, staring at his friend with tearful eyes. "I am writing the gospel itself, even before it happens." Jeremiah sat down, speechless. "That's unbelievable," he murmured. Isaiah continued, "The nations will see him, kings will shut their mouths before him. He will be exalted and lifted up and be very high, but before that he will be rejected, pierced, crushed for us." Isaiah stood up, walked to the window and looked out at the horizon. "I don't understand all the details, Jeremiah, but I know one thing. One day when this servant comes, he will fulfill everything that God showed me. Every word, every tear, every promise." His friend, still in shock, asked in a low voice, "And the people, Isaiah? Will they believe?" Isaiah smiled with an expression of pain mixed with hope. "Some yes, others no. But when everything happens, when every prophecy is fulfilled, the whole world will know." He closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and with his gaze fixed on the sky, said aloud, "For the Lord of hosts has purposed, and who will annul it? His hand is stretched out, and who will turn it back?" In that instant, a certainty invaded Isaiah's heart. He had been chosen to record the greatest plan in the history of humanity. A plan that would only be fully understood centuries later, but which began there, in every line, in every prophecy that came out of his mouth. And now, as he finished writing, Isaiah rested the pen, took a deep breath and smiled, his eyes full of tears. And now you understand why the book of Isaiah is the most impressive in the Bible? The revelation may shock you. When Isaiah concluded his prophecies, he perhaps did not have full awareness of the magnitude of what he was bequeathing to the world. He was just a man with his doubts, fears, and tears, but also with a rare courage. A man who chose to obey even when everyone around him rejected him. A man who, even without fully understanding, continued to write, to speak, to prophesy. Today, when we look at the pages of the book of Isaiah, we do not see only ancient texts or poetic words. We see a prophetic map, a timeline that spans centuries, pointing directly to the coming of the Messiah, Jesus Christ. Every detail described, from the virgin birth to the brutal suffering, from rejection to resurrection, was fulfilled with a precision that defies all human logic. And what about the prophecies that are still awaiting fulfillment? Isaiah also spoke of the second coming, of the glorious return, of a kingdom of eternal peace where he will swallow up death forever, and the Lord God will wipe away tears from all faces. Isaiah 25:8. Isaiah's words are an invitation, a call for you, just like him, to choose to trust even in the midst of rejection, to proclaim hope even in the midst of crisis, to believe in God's promises even when everything around screams the opposite. If Isaiah, centuries before Christ, could see with such clarity what we would only understand much later, imagine what God can still reveal to you today. Therefore, the question that echoes to this day is simple yet powerful. And you? Are you ready to live with the same faith and courage as Isaiah? Are you ready to trust that, just as every word from that time was fulfilled, God's promises for your life will also be fulfilled? The book of Isaiah is not just history, it is a living testimony that God speaks. And when he speaks, nothing can prevent the fulfillment of his word. Stand up, believe, proclaim, because the same God who called Isaiah calls you today. If you like this story, on your screen now will appear 2 other videos with equally inspiring biblical characters. Click, watch, subscribe to the channel, and leave your like. May God speak to you just as he spoke to Isaiah in the most unexpected hours.